This video tutorial will show you how to work with multiple style sheets and in particular set up those style sheets so that your page looks different and customized for mobile devices. So to begin with, I'm going to create a new HTML page here, and I'm going to save this page as my underscore mobile page, .html, and click save. And I am going to attach the style sheet as we've done before. So I go over to the little link tool, say OK to desktop CSS, click OK, and then I am going to insert a container. So I double click on the insert tab and go to insert div tag, and I'm going to go down to the ID area as we've done many times and type in container and then click OK. So here is my container, and I am going to double click on the container, and I'm going to go to the CSS panel here, and actually I'm going to double click on the insert tab here to open this up, and I'm going to double click on the container rule, and just so that we are able to discern the difference with the container here on different devices, I am going to go to container box. It's 750 pixels wide, but I'm going to make the height here, I'm going to set this to 500 pixels. So it's got some height. Click apply. And plus, I'm going to give the container a background color, once again, just for this demonstration. And I'm going to make the desktop container default. I'll make it this gray color and click OK for the container. And so I'm going to click OK once again and go inside the content area for the container, and I'm going to type in this is how to use multiple style sheets. Style sheets. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to go to Format, Pop-up Menu, and choose Heading 1. So we now have a simple page with a Heading 1 text up here. I can get rid of that. I need capital S. And inside a container. So this is how this page now looks on our desktop. However, we want to have multiple style sheets and be able to look at this on different devices or in different views. And Dreamweaver lets you do that using a multi-view feature that it has built in. But what we want to do first of all is we want to get the code to embed in our page that makes sure that the web page detects or understands what style sheet to use depending upon the viewport or the viewing device that's being used at the time. So to get that code, I have it available on our Moodle page. So I'm going to toggle on back to Moodle, and on the Moodle course page you'll find some code called multiple style sheet code in this week's set of lessons. This week's list of resources, sorry. And you'll simply click on that multiple style sheet code, and you're going to choose the code that's listed there, and it starts with meta name viewport, and it finishes up down here with the 480 pixels, and you're going to copy that entire piece of code. So copy, Then I'm going to toggle back to Dreamweaver. And then I'm going to place that code right here inside where the link ref is that I already had linked my style sheet. So I'm just going to highlight that line, line 6 here, where it says link href desktop CSS. And this link had come about, remember when we used this small little link tool. But we're going to highlight that, and I'm going to paste. So I'm going to do Command V and paste over that with the code that I got from the Moodle page. And so now it still has the link ref at the top to desktop CSS. So that hasn't changed. So we're still linking to that desktop CSS. But we also have another couple of style sheets that we're referencing here called tablet CSS and this other one, phone CSS here. And we haven't created those style sheets yet, but Dreamweaver is going to help us do that as we go along here. So notice in the CSS styles panel, there's a refresh button. I'm going to click refresh and update the desktop CSS. And you can see now in our rules that we have desktop CSS at the top, just like we did before. However, there are two new styles here, style sheets, tablet CSS and phone CSS, that we haven't started using yet. And so that's what we're going to do here in the next step. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to click inside our container, and we're going to choose tablet CSS, and we're going to go to new rule for the tablet and see how we change it. So we're going to click on new rule, container. This all looks the same. However, down in the bottom of the selector page, or the new CSS rule page, you'll see that it says rule definition. Choose where your rule will be defined. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say tablet CSS. And that's what happened when I selected tablet CSS. That's where we are going to style this. So inside the tablet CSS, we're going to create a slightly different container rule. Click OK. Now it says the file tablet CSS does not exist. Do you want to create it? So while we've referenced it in our code, it hasn't actually been created yet. So we want to say yes. And now Dreamweaver went ahead and created a tablet CSS document inside our root folder for us. And all we're going to do is I'm going to go to background, and I'm going to change the background color for the container in the tablet view. So I'm going to change it to something that's pretty obvious when we see it. I think we'll use this pale blue color. And if I click apply, notice that it doesn't change the color because it's not setting it for the desktop CSS. It's just going to be when we view it as if we're viewing it from a tablet device. So that's okay. So don't worry about it if it doesn't change. And the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to box, and I'm going to make the container a bit smaller. So rather than 750 pixels, I'm going to make the container 500 pixels wide. And I'm going to also uncheck the margin box and make it go right auto, left auto. Click apply. Once again, we don't see anything because we're not looking at it from the tablet view. And so now my container should be smaller, and it should have a different background color on the tablet, but it should still float in the center of the browser window. So that's okay. I click OK. And then the only other thing I might do here is I might highlight the H1 and change that. Click on new rule, create a new CSS rule for container H1 in the tablet CSS. So it's going to be a rule for H1 in tablet CSS. Click OK. And the rule is going to be that I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go with 24 point, and I'm going to make the color this dark, very dark blue for H1, and click OK. All right. So once again, you don't see that rule because we're not viewing it in the tablet view, but that's okay. So then the last one we're going to do, oh, and by the way, if you look over here, you could see if you toggle the little down arrow for tablet CSS, you can see these are the rules that we've applied inside the tablet CSS. So there's a rule for a container in the desktop CSS, and now there's a rule for the container in the tablet CSS. Last one we want to do is let's add a couple of rules for the phone CSS, and I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. Hopefully you'll get the idea here and be able to start to develop different styles from different multiple mobile devices on your own. But I'm just trying to get the concept across to you pretty briefly here. So if we want to add a different look for the container in H1 for a phone, we would once again click on the phone CSS in the Styles panel, go to New Rule, and we're going to add a new rule for the container because we're cursors inside the container. It assumes that's what we want to do. And because we had selected phone CSS, it knows that we want to style inside the phone CSS. So we choose that from the pop-up list, and then we click OK. It says, expectedly, that the phone CSS does not exist. Do you want to create it? You say yes. I'm going to give my phone container a different background color so I can tell that I'm in my phone, and I'm going to make it this rust color, sort of brown. And then I'm going to go to box, and I'm going to make the width for my phone, I'm going to make it 300 pixels wide, and I'm going to, that's it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it really simple, just make it 300 pixels wide, click OK, and then add just a simple rule for the heading 1. So inside the phone CSS, highlight heading 1, go to New Rule, and we're going to style container H1 inside the phone CSS, click OK. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to select a smaller font size, 18, and change the color to, I'm going to change the color for the text here to a dark red. Actually, I'm going to change it to charcoal color and click OK. And that may still be too big. We'll see how it looks. Okay, so now we know we've created these different rules, but what do they look like? Well, we can preview them in Dreamweaver by going to the multi-screen pull-down menu here at the top of Dreamweaver. And if we click on that and go to multi-screen preview, you can see that you've got now these 3 different views of how your page is going to look on those different devices. And so this is a great way of previewing your different styles and working between the desktop and a tablet and a smartphone view as well. And you can see we could probably go a little bit wider with our container on the tablet. But now all you do is you style your pages using the different style sheets. When you're done, you simply upload to your server, and you'll be able to actually preview the your page on those different devices, both iOS and Android devices. Other smartphones will also see this code and will use the different style sheet as well. To see somewhat how that behaves, if you go to the preview in your browser window, if I preview in Safari, for example, and click Save, click Yes, you could see that the page looks this way while it's wide open as in a desktop. But if I go small on this, I get to the point where it would be a tablet, you could see it switches. It senses that the page is smaller, is likely to be being viewed by a tablet. And then if I continue to go small here, even smaller, it switches to a phone view for your page as well. So there you see how to add multiple style sheets and how to style for mobile devices using Dreamweaver.